For folks who've never had the pleasure of meeting you, would you mind just sharing a little bit about your background, how you got into real estate, and your journey so far?
Yeah. Well, I'm originally from Colorado, grew up in Denver, and traveled around a lot. I've been in Austin for 10 years. So I'm coming up on my 10th year, which is crazy. And I've been in real estate for 9 years. So shortly after moving here, got my real estate license in 2016 and started building my business. My grandparents were both realtors in Colorado and in Montana. And they had told me for a long time, you should get into real estate. You should get into real estate. And I was like, whatever, whatever. And finally took them up on it. And they shared a lot of their tips and tricks with me of their years in real estate and ended up just absolutely loving it. So runs in the family. And yeah, so now I'm in year 9, working up to year 10.
Awesome. And so we're talking about sphere of influence and database and past clients and referrals and things of that nature. I'm curious because you want to share with folks about where you're at in terms of business production and what percentage of that comes from repeat referral business.
Yeah, so last year I closed right over 10 million and it was probably 85 to 90% repeat referral
That's remarkable.
and sphere.
That's
hmm
remarkable. So I'm curious about that because typically in real estate, that's going to be a later stage thing, meaning
hmm
you're going to do business from a number of different lead generation sources. Those clients will then know you, love you, refer you, and that builds over time. Was that the
hmm
case for you, or were you always a by referral kind of agent?
Well, I came into this industry with very little capital. I didn't come in with like a bunch of money to buy Zillow leads or, do that kind of stuff. So I just leaned on the people that I already knew. It probably took me till about year 4 to really get that business going with repeat referral. Because if you go off the average, homeowner who buys and sells every 4 to 7 years, that makes sense. Where the people that I'd helped in 2016, by 2020, when that came around, they were like, oh, well, I actually need to move, or, so that was kind of how that tracked for me. It took a little while also to just build the business in general.
Okay. Can I dig into some of the details on a kind of the day to day of how you and maybe if you want to compare and contrast, I'm sure your technique for working your sphere may have evolved over time.
Mhm.
Can you talk about how what you did in the early days versus what you do now?
Yeah, so the early days, it was really just about getting the word out there. As I started building the business, building my confidence and my education and my experience, the conversations got a lot easier because I didn't really feel like I was, yes, I was asking people for business, but it didn't seem like I was bothering them. There were a lot of things that I started implementing along the way that helped create consistency and helped create more of, a vision of how I wanted to see my business, kind of giving that more longevity look into where I wanted to be as an agent, what I wanted to do. So, a lot of my, I've sold a lot of things in my life, surfboards, wine, jewelry, clothes, done a lot of things. So for me, education is a big piece of it. It makes things a lot easier for me if I know what I'm selling. So after a couple years of learning the market and learning what I needed to do as an agent, it became an easier process for me to, when people called, hey, how's the market? I actually knew what to tell them as opposed to like, oh, it's good. Do you have any real estate needs? Because knowing the data of how many days on market are average for a neighborhood or what our average sales price is in the city, those are pretty average things that most agents should know and just have that can roll off the tongue in any conversation about real estate.
Oh wow, that's great. And so let's fast forward then and talk about. So if I'm in your database today, I'm curious which database are you using, by the way?
Follow up, boss.
Okay. So if I'm in
hmm
FUB and I'm part of whatever campaign, a couple of different questions. First off, are you segmenting that database by any sort of methodology? Tight knit, massive referral giver, or
hmm
warm leads, cold leads, anything like that? How do you look at your database?
Yeah, so I look at it in a couple different ways. For the repeat referral business in general, just how I've been able to cultivate that was using the DTD2 program. I've started to realize that that's getting a little daunting with calls, so I've now spread it out into a different kind of strategy. But for the most part, people are getting at least a phone call from me month or quarterly, if not texting in between. And then I also put out a monthly market report that goes to my entire database so that they're up on the market. And that's to agents in other cities, countries, that's to past clients, family members, just basically anything, because I also share a lot of my wins in there too.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with DTD2. What's that?
It's I'm trying to remember what the acronym, but it was essentially a program called Never Ending Referrals, where you
Okay.
segment your basically the alphabet. So in week 1 of a quarter, I'm calling the people whose last names start with A and W.
Got
In
it.
week
Okay.
2 of that quarter, I'm calling the people whose last names start with D and O. Week 3, right? So that it segments it so that I know, like, okay, I'm in week 6 of the quarter, I'm calling the people that are in T and J, and they're segmented in my database, so I can just quickly look up the tag and roll through the list. And then of course I've got people as like leads, hot prospects, nurture, retry, active client, pending, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah. And again, we're kind of spoiled here in Austin, but I'm sure a
Yeah.
lot of boards of realtors produce the same. And if not, hit
Mhm.
up your title person. So
Exactly.
you also mentioned a quarterly call. It's
Mhm.
probably going to differ person by person, or maybe it's not. But is there a common thread, script or approach strategy that you use in those quarterly calls?
Yeah, so Q1, I'm typically focused on like, what are your real estate plans for the year, right? In our market here in Austin, a lot of landlords and sellers like to leverage listing between like March and August. So I know that Q2 and Q3 are typically going to be like the bigger seasons for real estate. So Q1, what are your plans this year? How can I help you? Anything like that. Q2, just more like follow-ups. It's also tax season here. Do you need something to help you protest? Kind of just getting people ready for all of all of those government type things. And then Q3, a lot of people are traveling. So, how's your summer been? Just general check-ins, because ultimately coming from contribution and letting people know that you are consistent and that you're going to continue to follow up with them goes miles, because they want to see someone who's a professional that really is, genuinely care about their life, what they have going on. And then Q4 is where I focus on all of my referral asks. So I've got a script that I use. Hey, our brokerage is having a referral competition. Who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, rent, invest, anything in Central Texas? And then I just shut up.
Mm.
And let people answer. And I hear a range of things. Oh, I don't know. Or, oh, my neighbor this, or, oh, whatever. And so Q4 on average from those calls that I make, because right now my database probably has somewhere around 700 or 800 people in it. So I'm
Okay.
calling almost 1,000 people in three months, and during the holidays, right? So it's a lot of calls to make and a lot to keep track of, especially while still running the business. And I think I get anywhere from 15 to 40 referrals, and then I know when Q1 starts, I've already got a book of business in a slower market.
That's cool. Yeah, I wonder, when you look at your database, being purposeful about it, right? First off,
Mm-hmm.
feeding, watering where the plants are growing, so to speak. But then
Yeah.
also too, identifying the kinds of people who are well positioned, business owners, high eyes, socialites.
Mm-hmm.
That those would be the people where, if I were back at sales, where I would be spending my time, my efforts, my money.
Yeah.
But going back to your A's and B's, give me, and again, wet thumb in the air is fine. Could you give me a sense of how many is in each of those two groups, your A's and your B's?
For the A's, I like to keep it at just 5. Whoever the top 5 are, they're in there.
Okay.
For B's, there might be 10 or 15 different people. And then outside of that, maybe like in the category I don't have a name for, let's just call them C's, they maybe have given me like one referral over the year or something. But certainly like the first referral I get from you, Brian, if you were like, hey, here's a referral, you're getting a handwritten card from me in the mail with a thank you, and typically like a gift card, like go treat yourself, go get something for yourself, I appreciate you. Second time, similar thing, but with a higher monetary valued gift card. Third time, you'll typically get something from me in the mail. I love to leverage Tiff's treats, because who does not in Austin? Yeah. So, that's just cookie delivery. But then outside of that, if someone has really started to refer me more than 3 times, then it becomes, more of, I get more creative with how I can actually celebrate them for helping me. But, that I want to reward the people that are helping me, because ultimately they are helping me build my business, whether they think of it like that or not.
When you think about the time, are you the kind of person who says, oh, 8 a.m., time to start making calls until, 10 a.m., okay, done making calls? Or is it kind of catch as catch can? I find myself in the car, and instead of listening to Barry Manilow, I'm going to turn that off and I'm going to just make sphere calls? Or how do you do it?
Good question. Before I answer that, I want to talk to those agents that don't call their sphere. For me, pain versus pleasure. When you see someone else's yard sign in their yard, or when you hear that they just went under contract for $1 million house with someone they met from XYZ brokerage, that hurts. That hurts. So I think that happened to me one time, and I went, oh no, not again. Like, I'm the person for you. Absolutely. Like, nope. So to each their own, but that pain for me was like, hurt me once, never again. But yeah, I mean, for me, I typically just block out time. It's not necessarily the same every day. I would love if I was that diligent agent that like from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. every day, I was making my calls, but life be lifing. I've got 2 kids under the age of 3. I've got a lot going on. And so I don't have time for consistency currently. But I had really great consistency before the second kiddo came along. So, it's a moving target, but, I do what I can. Ultimately, my wins, my successes, my failures, they're all on me. It's a hard lesson to learn when you're a new agent. It's a lot of pressure. But once you get the ball rolling and you find some things that work, stick with those, start adding in new things. Once you've got some capital to work with, start mailing, start doing other things. I mean, I knocked doors, I did open houses, I wrote handwritten letters to a lot of people. Some of it worked, some of it didn't, but I stuck with, consistency ultimately is the only way to know what works. But my schedule, I'm very good with my schedule, not this year, but most of the years, yes. Just trying to keep it light and let people know who I am. Because there are sometimes people I've called for years who I've never met, just talked to them on the phone a couple times, and then they went ghost for 3 years. Send them a holiday card, and they're like, oh, that's what this girl looks like, and that's what her family's doing, and that kind of stuff. So I'm maybe a little bit of an old school millennial, where I like to write people things and put stuff in the mail, because not a lot of people do that anymore. We're all inundated with so many texts and phone scam calls, and it's crazy. So the things that I can do that stand out and do it consistently are typically what have been the most effective.
Right. Ola, thank you so much for doing this with us. We really appreciate you.